Hello, welcome back. We are reconvening into open session. It is still Wednesday, August 9th, and this is still the Ross Valley School Board Trustees regular meeting. It is now 7:05, reconvening back into open session. Report out from closed session. We only had one item, and I will report out that we unanimously approved the staff recommended resolution for the special education program dispute for student ID number 292-724-0425. And that's all we have to report out on the closed session. We have, as usual, our correspondence and communication from the board has been posted as part of our agenda. So all communication that has been received for the board is posted as part of that. And then, before we move that, I skipped one, which is public comment regarding items that are not on our agenda tonight. So we have a couple of people here in the audience. Does anyone have, that I know one of you have comments on? Come on up. We have our usual 3 minutes at the podium for items not on the agenda. This is our podium now. Have a seat.
I feel like this is congressional hearing. Boy, do I have stuff to tell you. Worse than I have to tell these people.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if this is working.
Name how you're. It's for recording purposes, not amplification. So
okay.
Just name, affiliation, and go ahead with it.
So my name's Peggy Dodge. I'm a San Anselmo resident, alumni parent, early childhood educator, pain in the neck mom, a lot of those things. I came tonight because I looked at the agenda and I saw absolutely nothing about Deer Park on it. And I was very disappointed because I've heard several times in these meetings that that this letter that says they need to be out August 31st could have the deadline extended if there were enough reasons to do that. But there's nothing in writing about that. This is the only thing in writing, page 467 of the resolution establishing their ability to stay till August 31st. So there's lives and livelihoods at stake here. And when I didn't see it on the agenda, I just felt like I had to come and say, there are tracks happening. There is a lot of possibilities. Nothing concrete as far as I know, and I'm not in the inner circle of the board and the staff there, but I just really feel like these families and this staff and this whole community who cares so desperately about them need to hear that in 2 weeks, they're gonna still be there. I mean, we can say whatever we want to, but when we have official documents saying you're out, it's hard to get past that. So I just needed to do that. And I teach on Wednesday nights and my school starts next week. So this will be the only time I'll get to say, please, let's get this resolved. We have so many good faith people trying to make this happen that let's just clear out the fear. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is really exciting.
Another public comment? Welcome.
Good evening. I think I know everyone. I'm John Carroll, Marin County Superintendent of Schools, and I wanted to give the board a couple messages. One is first my gratitude for the cooperation, transparency, and just straight up help that you've given my organization in doing our due diligence inspections. It started, I believe, we got started in February. As you know, that's a time-consuming process. We're not quite finished yet. I did want to mention a few things, and this came up at my board's meeting yesterday, is much of, in fact, I think everything that you found in your inspections of the Deer Park property, we have confirmed. it's it's not a surprise. We are going beyond. We're doing a little bit more. So there's still some things yet to be determined. Our board discussed sort of 30,000-foot view issues around the potential purchase last night. And let's make sure that I don't miss anything. So we're continuing with that. I wish I had been saying this all along. I wish I could give you a hard date, like we'll be done on X date. I will say that we are anticipating an August 29th special meeting of our board where we'll have a very clear very clear body of data for them to make a decision, but that decision won't come for quite a bit later. A lot of that, just to remind everyone, the board has actual authority. My board has authority for real estate purchases, so it's something that a majority of that board has to get behind, and that does take time. As you as board members, you know that that's the case. One thing I mentioned last night that I want to make sure that you're aware of, although we are we're still hopeful that a purchase from the county office could happen. The more we learn, I have to say my optimism has declined a little bit about that, but it has not completely evaporated. So I think it's very important for the center especially to be thinking of Plan B, and I think I need to be open in saying that might include a potential move that we would like to be helpful with in some way if that property doesn't work out for us to purchase. That we think the program that's offered at that center is really important. It's part of the overall mission of the Marin County Office of Ed to support programs like it. There really aren't any programs like it. It's really exemplary. We want to make sure it survives. Where that is it's important, but less important to us than the fact that it should go somewhere, if not Deer Park, somewhere else. We want to make sure we get behind that idea if that comes up. But we're still staying open to creative ideas, reaching out to partners for potential financing help. And I think that's about everything that I have to report tonight.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for the update.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Now we can just move forward with our procedural items, which is our Pledge of Allegiance and adoption of the rest of the agenda and timelines. So thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Does anyone have any changes or amendments to the agenda as stated? Any updates, questions? Nope. All right.
Can you just make a statement about Chris?
Oh, and just again, we've got one trustee who is not here tonight, Chris Landels-Cobb. All right, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
Sure. Ryan?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Daniel?
Aye.
All right, we have our agenda. On to the presentation and action items. The first one is a recommended approval of resolution 012324 and 022324, which is certificated local assignment authorizations. Marcy?
All right, thank you so much. Tonight is something that we've done for a number of years at a board meeting, which is we have, because White Hills block schedule means that the 6th grade teachers do not see each of their kids every day, each day of the school week. These teachers are fully credentialed. They are fully authorized by the state of California to teach the content areas that they teach. It is purely because of the block schedule. If we had a schedule in which there was no block as an example, but they were to see their kids every day, then we would not be here this evening. They all have multiple subject credentials. There are 5 of them. Should I got that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. And so before you tonight, in order for them to not be considered misassigned by the state of California in their assignment, then we need to go through this process. And so the process that we're utilizing is, there's a couple of them. So because some of the teachers outlined here have enough requisite units in each of the content areas they teach, that's one of the local assignment options that's allowable. 12 lower division units or 6 upper division units. And then for a couple of the other teachers, they needed to go through a process that we know under the education code. It was the person who put forth that education code, Craven. So we call it Craven. So they go through a process in which they are reviewed by experts, those who have single subject credentials in each of the content areas that they teach. So the process, as you can see outlined here, is they may have demonstration lessons, a portfolio, there may be an interview, those kinds of things. So this has all been conducted and completed. The other aspect for the state to not have them be counted as misassigned is they must consent to the content areas that they teach. And they all have signed that consent form. So before you tonight is the resolutions for each of these categories. So we have Georgia Hamilton, Brianna Hatfield, Aaron Hess, Mel Hickman, and Ben Tunney are the 1, 2, 3, there are 5. Yes, count. All right. So any questions on this content?
No, that was helpful, clear explanation, thanks.
Thank you.
So they're all down. They're
They're great,
happy to have that. And
absolutely, yeah.
They're in the right.
Yeah. They all have bachelor's, they all have the requirements for a credential, and they all hold the multiple subject credential.
Right.
So every
So it's
every school that has a blocked schedule as opposed to the traditional whatever has to go through the.
Yep, unless their teachers
Right.
have 2 single subject credentials.
Right, okay.
So if there's the block schedule in which they don't see, so this is, I'm part of the countywide personnel group, and this is something that we cover every year, and it is something that I've actually helped other districts put in place the processes for the Craven when they have had teachers go into this. We do have other teachers in the 6th grade who happen to have 2 single subjects in each of the core content areas they teach.
Okay. Any other questions? We don't have anyone here in the audience for public comment, so we don't need to do that. And unless there are other board comments to bring it back, questions, we can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 resolutions 012324 and 022324, authorizing 5 6th grade teachers, 6th grade core teachers at White Hill to teach courses outside the credentialed authorization in accordance with provisions of the California Education Code local assignment authorization.
And I second that.
Motion and a second. Ryan.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
Shelley, aye. Daniel.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, the next item on our agenda is a recommended approval of contract extension and amendment for Chris Carson, our chief business official.
All right, thank you so much. As we all know, that Chris was hired beginning in the 2021 school year. And part of when you have a person who's a senior management, like Chris and myself, the maximum number of years you can have on your contract is 4. And so as part of Chris's contract is with a positive evaluation, I will recommend to the board an extension of his contract, and I'm doing that this evening, so that he right now, his current contract term expires on June 30th, 2025, and I'm recommending this evening that you continue or extend his contract through the maximum of 4 years to June 30th, 2026. And I just want to say how lucky we are to have Chris Carson in our school district.
Here, here.
His knowledge, his expertise, his understanding of the educational program, his familiarity, his ability to engage and jump in and problem solve any kind of problem. It doesn't matter if it's in facilities, food service, the business office itself, anything that we're grappling, he's a total asset to our district and administrative team.
So before we go any further, I'd like to just add dedication to your job. I really trust you, which doesn't come very easy for me, just as a person it doesn't, but knowing how you really are dedicated to these people that you work with and these kids, and who's first down there when water's flowing into buildings, it's you. And we're very lucky to have you. I'm really happy that you're here.
Just to
I'll
clarify,
second that.
to clarify, it's we're extending to 2027, right?
Did I say that?
Yeah, I think it's 2027. I just want to make sure because it looks like that's what's on there too. Because that's 4 years out
Extended
from
to
now.
June 30,
2027?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I just wanna make
Yes,
sure, 'cause it's
absolutely.
like,
Thank you so
as
much.
far as we can
Yeah.
possibly extend it?
Yes, so sorry. Yes, I didn't read my
Clear.
own writing far
No,
enough
it's fine,
down.
it's fine.
Yeah, and so thank you so much for Rachel. The eagle eye, love it. Thank you. Sorry about that, Chris.
We are extending, yes, as far as we can, as long as we can. I have absolutely no questions, no reservations on this matter whatsoever. Super appreciate everything you do, how you do it, your dedication, your attitude, your knowledge and skills. We are super lucky to have you, so thank you.
If I could just say, I feel honored to serve the community and to work with everybody in the community and the district, so thank you.
Thanks.
I would be happy to move that we approve the extension and amendment of the employment contract between Ross Valley School District and Chris Carson, Chief Business Official, as presented.
Second. Sorry. Gotta be quick.
You can do it.
All right, motion in a second. Rachel.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Shelley. Aye. Daniel.
Aye.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
We gotcha. Thank you, you got us. All right. Next, we have recommended approval of an MOU with UCSF Dyslexia Center for the 2023-24 school year. What's our update on the Dyslexia Center?
This is Eric Sable, Director of Student Services. Thank you, Eric.
so much. This is really cool, to the opportunity to continue our relationship with UCSF Dyslexia Center. There's the recent governor just recently passed the law that which it's going to be 25, 26, I believe, where there must be universal screening for dyslexia in all schools. Some of us districts are already there, though we want to continue to seek out the very best means by which we can do that effectively, with the best tools for all kids. Because we all know, and the research backs up that early intervention makes huge differences. And the work that our teachers are doing, and Julia leading the curriculum and instruction work in this district is exceptional. It makes an immense difference for all the kids in our district. However, we of course know we need to continue to get better and to have the tools backed up by science to, again, really identify which children may need that early intervention. So our relationship, this again has been for 2 years, and we have been a research partner for UCSF. So starting in 21-22, they brought their team, their researchers to our schools. They did a little mini kind of boot camp at Wade Thomas to sort of work out their tech and make sure that it was all working, because it's like an iPad, Padlet-y kind of vehicle that the students go through. And then the Brookside campus, being the great teammates that they are, volunteered to step up and be the site that would host this process for the last 2 years. And so they started with the K1 kiddos, and then the next year they did K1, and they even extended it with some of those now second graders that had been in it the first year. So after 2 years of this research, now they have gotten their multitudes, they call it multitude screener, ready to implement. And in speaking with our administrative team, there's lots going on in the district, many different projects and a lot of different work happening. And our Hidden Valley team stepped up and said, you know what, we want to be the ones to be the first to give this. And then we get a chance to see, okay, what's the workflow like? How's this going? So instead of the researchers from UCSF giving the assessment to the kids, our own teachers are doing that. Our kindergarten and first grade teachers. So, and that's exciting, but also it's going to entail training, which UCSF provides. And they also, part of this relationship means that we get to actually have access to the data. which hasn't been the case in the last 2 years because it isn't really valid data given that the tool that they were implementing was in its beta form. So our teachers get trained, they give the screener, I believe it's 3 times throughout the course of the year. And then UCSF has organized what they call a community of practice around literacy practices, intervention practices. So all that is gonna get just Venn diagrammed right into the work that Julia is doing. And again, across the district, we're already utilizing a screener called Dibbles. Yes, and this, sorry.
Just that they also got to go to the Orton Gilman training.
Yes, that's right,
Sorry.
The teachers got to go to, I don't read so well at a distance. The teachers got to go to an Orton Gillingham training, which again is an approach that is widely used to work with children with a high risk of dyslexia. So the long and short is we have the opportunity to extend this relationship, and it'll be interesting. I think that UCSF is aiming to really get the state's attention and hopefully be, in their view, one of the tools that the state uses on a wider scale. For us, we see have had a great working relationship with them that we would. I'm recommending that we continue. Now that we're actually going to have a tool that is going to give us valid data and could potentially become the tool that we in the future decide to use for all of our kiddos, kindergarten and first grade. So first of all, I just want to ask if there are any questions from the trustees about the nature of the project, about the MOU itself.
I just want to quickly point out that I've seen this before and thought about how it related to me growing up and a lot of the kids I grew up with, including my brother and some of my very closest friends that weren't diagnosed with dyslexia until late in high school, which all of a sudden made a lot of sense as to why some of the other things in their academics were suffering. I especially liked, as I thought about it and as I read this, I like the fact that not only is this a good screener, but it says right here, and I wanted to make sure that this is heard because this is really important, where it says that to identify the strengths as well as the challenges and how to identify and assess efficiently English language learners,
That's right.
as well as dual language immersion students. So it's not just what quickly comes to mind, it actually has screening for all levels of kids. So the depth of which they're screening is really a fine filter, and I don't think anybody can be missed. And if we really get that early, it's nice to see that we have those filters in place.
Well, and you make a great point, and that's something that is a part of the premise of this research is that with children that, for example, can have English as a additional language learned, that screeners can sometimes flag a false positive. It could be just that they haven't acquired that second or third language to the degree to perform on it. It's not that there is necessarily a language problem or challenge. So that's also a really compelling aspect of the work as well.
Do you know the full implementation you mentioned? I'd read an article about the governor's or about the statewide effort in this area, and I'm really happy that you brought this to us 3 years ago and that we've been working on this because we're well positioned. Do you know if that full implementation is like all kids K through 5 every year, or is it, when they say universal, is it just kindergarten?
It's K2.
It's K.
It's K2.
Okay.
And it's a reading screener that identifies students who are at risk of having dyslexia. It's not a dyslexia screener. So
Gotcha.
it lets you know that, there might be something here that we need to dig in deeper.
Got it. Okay, thanks. Just wondering what that full implementation might look like. So that's helpful too. Okay.
So, and I just wanted to clarify, this is something that we're working in partnership with them on, and we don't pay for these services, we don't pay for the screener, okay. I just wanna make sure, cause I know that's my understanding of it before, but just so people aren't like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you. No, that's a really great question. And I mean, obviously, there's a bit more sweat equity on behalf of Ross Valley School District in the form of our teachers at Hidden Valley taking on that work. And again, being, you know, they like Brookside did first, you know, will kind of be the vanguard in terms of really seeing if we feel like this is the avenue that we want to pursue.
Great.
Moving
This
forward.
particular screen.
This particular stream.
We know we're gonna go in the avenue,
That's
but yeah,
exactly
this-
right.
yeah.
And there is a parallel thing going on where last year we piloted a first grade reading screener. A reading screener for our first graders, and we're adding second grade to that. So all of our first and second grade students in the district will be screened this year.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And I'll make sure that if we get the support of the trustees to move forward with this, that and future board meetings down the road, that we're coming back with some updates on how that's going.
Great.
And certainly hearing from the teachers on their experience with this process. And so, but very exciting. And again, just like, you know, I would feel this way about all of our colleagues, administration, teachers, and staff, just being go-getters and really wanting to get after it and do stuff that, you know, is new, and taking on additional projects that go beyond, you know, what could, you know, very well be considered already enough, you know, because we want to get better. And of course, in my role on the special education, in the special education realm, we of course know too that, you know, 90% of our students don't receive special ed services, but that doesn't mean that they don't require support and help. And it doesn't mean that tools like these can't help every child, help us identify where every child needs that support. Again, before a small problem turns into a bigger one. So I'm coming to the trustees tonight just with their support for us entering into an MOU for 23-24 with UCSF to implement their multitudes screener at Hidden Valley Elementary.
Any other board conversation? Again, we don't have anybody here in the public for public comments, so any other questions or anything? No? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 MOU with UCSF to administer the Multitudes Universal Dyslexia Screener for TK to first grade students at Hidden Valley.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Daniel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Thank you for carrying that forward.
Thank you for your support.
All right, we now have a recommended approval of an agreement with food service provider Lunch Master. Marcy, is this
Chris
you?
Carson.
This is me. So we're required every 5 years to put out an RFP for our meal vendor. And in addition, we need to request of the local districts if there's anybody that's interested in providing meals to the district that has that ability.
The local vendors,
Local school districts.
local school first the districts that offer food preparation
Yes.
programs.
Oh,
So we have to send it to all of the local districts, even those that may not offer it. Prepare, we have to do that. And so we put that out and we didn't get any, and we put out the bid, we advertise locally, and we also send it to those that have expressed interest in the past or potentially have submitted bids to us. And with that, we only received one vendor back, and it's our current vendor. This happens to be one of the more difficult areas for vendors to get into because there's lots of regulations in terms of the National School Lunch Program, in National Breakfast Program, School Breakfast Program. And it's also one of those areas that there are very few vendors that can even do it. And so we do have our contract this evening is to approve up to a 5-year contract with the Lunch Master.
approving or just
Yeah, you
one?
said up to?
One,
It's
Yeah.
1 year at a time, and every
Okay.
year we would bring it back.
great.
So we're required to go through it every 5 years, but not.
Correct.
But we could every year if we, so
We could do it
if
every year.
we discovered something.
And how are they going about the negative reviews and feedback from families and students? Is that a place for this question?
If there are negative reviews, that they can certainly submit that to us and we can follow back up with them. And if there's certain food items that the children don't like, we can certainly have conversations with them about that as well.
Okay.
So we can
I know that
provide-
there's,
So letting parents know that there's a feedback loop if they are unsatisfied.
I think we did hear some questions about nutrition, if I don't recall. If I do recall, like that people would challenge it, but we were met with, there's just not a lot of people that can meet the standards.
No.
Right.
And actually,
How many vendors are there who could have even responded?
I think we sent it out to maybe 3 or 4 additional vendors that we knew of. And we just didn't, it's a little difficult to get food vendors to even come out to San Anselmo and Fairfax just because it's not right
Yeah,
next to the
right, yeah.
101.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and so it is a challenge, and this is one of the few vendors that does this through a lot of districts in the Bay Area,
So
and
they're Bay Area wide.
they are Bay Area wide. They're located in the South Bay, actually, San Carlos.
Okay.
thank you.
Appreciate the outreach effort to do what we can to have options. So that's much appreciated that we looked broadly.
So I'll make a motion to approve the recommended approval of the agreement with Lunch Master.
I second it.
All right.
Aye.
Brian? Daniel?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye.
And real quick, if I could just add, if parents do want to reach out to us, we can make the information more readily accessible so they can reach out
About how to do that?
about how to do that. So we'll get that on our district page for that.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. It's a challenge.
All right. Last item is a recommended approval and adoption of RVSD's response to the Marin County Civil Grand Jury Report about building more ADUs and the prescription to increase Marin's housing supply. Is that what RX means?
Yeah, a prescription.
A
or if
prescription,
you-
that's what
yeah,
it's called.
NRX. Yeah,
A prescription,
Yeah.
okay.
you got it. Right, so this is mine.
Yep.
And so the Marin County Civil Grand Jury did release its report regarding building more ADUs as the prescription to increase Marin's housing supply in the middle of June 2023. And that was attached to the agenda, so the full report is there. And as you know, likely with the Civil Grand Jury, they do conduct investigations and make findings on the issues that they're investigating or issue. They take one at a time. And though the recommendations of the grand jury are not binding upon the agency or agencies named in their report, state statute does require that each agency or agencies named in the report to respond. And so in this case, what they are asking school districts to reply to is one finding and one recommendation. And there's a format that that has been developed, so the response must be in the format, which is also attached here. So the reason it looks the way that it does is because that is the required format. So we follow that. And so in the finding F7 that school districts need to consider is the impact, connection, and capacity fees the finding is the impact, connection, and capacity fees vary considerably throughout the county, and such fees can have a disincentive to homeowners considering ADU development. And so with that, there's an ability to choose from a number of bullets in which to respond. Our district's response is that I or we partially disagree with the finding. And the reason is that the code that they have listed is a government code, but school districts are bound by the education code section. And so the one listed that they have listed does not pertain to our school district. It does not apply to public school districts. And then in their recommendations, so the recommendation they have is that by December 1, 2023, the school district in this case would begin a feasibility assessment of waiving or significantly lowering impact and connection fees for units smaller than 750 square feet. And our response to that, again, there's a number of bullets to select from, and our response is that this recommendation will not be implemented because it is not warranted or is not reasonable. And so then what follows here in the response is our rationale for that reasoning. And so what they talk about here related to, in this government code, it names the different kinds of agencies or special districts. And as you can see, school districts are not listed in that government code. But there is that separate education code that I mentioned a few minutes ago. It's 17620 that does authorize school districts, but not county offices of education, to assess developer fees. And it's specifically outlined in that education code as to the square footage. And so, and the requirements that districts must go through. So we not only have to have the board take action to determine to assess developer fees, but we also need to prepare an annual accounting of the developer fees that we have collected and make that available to the public and reviewed by the district's governing board at a regularly scheduled board meeting. And the report needs to identify the amount of the fee, the total amount of fees collected, and the beginning and ending balance in a separate fund used to account for these fees. And the report also describes the public improvement projects on which these fees were expended and the total cost of each improvement. So then additionally to that, Government Code 66001 requires each school district that collects developer fees to make further findings every 5 years about any developer fee fund in which those fees remained unexpended at the end of the fiscal year. And so given the transparency with which school districts are required to manage developer fees that they collect, and the fact that ADUs under 500 square feet are not subject to the fees, and of course for our school district, the importance of this funding stream to the district's ability to maintain adequate educational facilities, the Ross Valley School District respectfully declines to consider any reduction to the fees it assesses. So as an example, you build more housing in our area. That could mean that more children will come to our schools, which means that we could go over our capacity to serve the children, and we need to be able to expand our facilities. And if, when possible, not to only have to rely on general obligation bonds to be passed by the voters of the public. So this is the rationale for our recommendation and response to the Marin Civil Grand Jury. Any questions?
When does this due?
September 15th.
So do we have another meeting before then?
We do.
I'd make a motion to carry this over so I could actually read and understand this more with this group. I mean, my own personal idea on this stuff is that's not why we're here. I understand what they're saying. I kind of would prefer more discussion with the group to get a little bit more in line with,
Well, it is agendized, so if you have any questions.
Well, I'd like to hear what other people feel about,
What did you mean this isn't why we're here?
Well, for me, response for housing is not something that I don't believe is our charge as an education supervisory or a board to have to weigh in on. I fundamentally disagree with most of ABAG's assumptions as a body in general, and going through this, I had enough questions that I kind of agree.
There's only the bulleted responses that we're able to provide.
Right.
And so ours is that
partially
this
disagree with the
recommend.
finding.
No, that's the first one, the response to the finding. The recommendation is that by December 1, 2023, the district will begin a feasibility assessment of waiving or significantly lowering impact and connection fees for its units smaller than 750 square feet. The response that we have selected is this recommendation will not be implemented because it is not warranted or is not reasonable. And so I think for the comments that you just made in the wonderings is that it is perfectly fitting with the response that we're providing, which is the ADUs under 500 square feet are already not subject to developer fees, and we need these developer fees
For the ones
to
over
serve our
500.
over
So
500
developer fees for over 500
are assessed,
are
and we
part of our
need-
revenue that we need.
And that is
And we
part of
need
our
it.
revenue.
As part of our
And
revenue,
yeah.
we continue to need it, and so we're basically not going to implement the recommended. Now,
So we respectfully decline to consider any reductions in the fees that we assess.
and we are required to respond to grand jury
Yeah,
findings. We're responding to the grand jury findings
Yes.
on
yeah,
this?
because we do collect money based on what
Because
this
we are
is.
collecting money and it's a grand jury, and we're responding to the grand jury, we're not responding
Yeah.
to any other housing
Correct. Yeah,
agencies
it's a
or anything like that,
response.
it's a response to a grand jury
Yes.
thing, right?
Very specific pieces.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what other districts are responding to this as? Do you have any?
Some school districts may not already be assessing developer fees, and if so, then they will be responding accordingly. And so, as my understanding is, I do not know of any school district that is agreeing, at least from what I've been told, would agree to not
Dismissed it. Current.
to either lower the amount or not collect developer fees. And as it's already stated, probably I think maybe because of the assumption of the government code that they assumed the school districts were under, and that isn't the code that we follow. We follow the education code with that specific government code there. And so we already are limited in the amount of developer fees that we can assess in the first place.
Through the ed code.
Through the ed code and through the.
Yeah, and we're doing this for any redevelopment of a home, not just for ADUs.
This specific grand jury report was specifically for ADUs.
Okay.
So not.
And so we collect developer fees on any improvements which expand the square footage of the dwelling, if you will. And also for new construction. So if you have a lot and you're building a new home, as an example, on that property, then it would be total assessed value of the square footage of developer fees that we is it annually, Chris, that you bring back to the board the recommended amount of the assessment that we would collect per
How's
square
that,
footage?
excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah, no,
How's that determined?
The amount?
Yeah.
The amount is actually set in statute, if there's a
Okay.
minimum amount. But what we provide to the governing board really is an accounting of those funds. Because as Marcy was saying earlier, we have to keep those dollars in a separate fund altogether. They're not in our general fund, they're in Fund 25, which is our developer fee. It's facilities.
I'm gonna make just a note, we don't have anybody in the audience here for public comment, so we can just continue the conversation. I just wanted to note that for any other, don't wanna stop the flow of the conversation, just make sure.
Brian, does that help?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
It helps to understand the very limited scope of the response here is not a general comment or conversation in general about.
Yeah.
Yes, and you had that question as well, it's just ADUs, it's just a response to the grand jury. It's not an expansive.
And it's a civil grand jury, so it's not necessarily specialist in government code or education code, so I can understand why they would not
Yeah.
know that.
It just needs a majority. To pass?
This
Yes.
item,
It
yes,
doesn't have to be unanimous, right?
don't believe this is special circumstances for that, no. And so the staff's recommendation, as you read, Marcy, is that we are not accepting their proposed action.
Yes.
The civil grand jury has proposed that districts waive or reduce.
Begin a feasibility assessment of waiving or significantly lowering impact and connection fees for units smaller than 750 square feet. So what we would be saying is if you were to oppose this, then you would want to direct us to bring back language in which maybe it says that we're looking at a different bullet, which maybe you're going to be, so the responses that you can select are this recommendation has been implemented, this recommendation has not been implemented but will be implemented in the future, this recommendation requires further analysis, This recommendation is not applicable as the district does not assess impact fees or waiver fees for units less than 750 square feet. This recommendation, it will not be implemented because it is not warranted or is not reasonable, and that's the one that we are recommending
Got it.
approval of.
And really, it's only for ADU units between 500 and 750 square feet. So there's like to do a whole feasibility analysis of doing that for whatever units just fit within that extra 250 square feet. Seems, I personally am fine with.
And just remember that, well, an ADUs under 500 are not subject to fees in the first
Exactly,
place. Yeah,
so
so it is totally just that amount.
It's just those units that have that extra 250. So I'm personally fine with moving forward with the recommendation to not implement their recommendation. But I don't know if anybody else has any other questions before we.
I agree with you. I don't particularly care for being told that we have to do a feasibility study for something that has such a narrow range of things that we actually work with. I mean, I'm sure that's I don't know how much money it would be, but at this point, like, I don't even know if that would be worth it.
I think on the sheet, I think it says $3.48 per square foot. So you're looking at $750. That's 250 square feet.
For however many units fit within that
Right,
little
that one,
teeny bit,
yeah.
extra 250 square.
I'm guessing feasibility studies aren't cheap.
Right.
I'm just
Or
guessing.
staff time.
Yeah, or staff time.
That would be
energy,
dedicated to this, so.
I'm okay, if we approve and adopt the response to the Marin County Civil Grand Jury report to build more ADUs that we have as
As proposed.
proposed.
Yeah, I'll second
All right, motion and a second. Rachel?
Aye.
Daniel?
it. Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Ryan?
Due to my profession, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. The motion passes with one abstention. We are now then moving on to consent actions. We have quite a few consent actions, 15 in fact.
So many.
And I'm gonna recommend that we pull this evening under the board policies. So we are looking at item, sorry about that, 13. There are a number of, there are two under, no, it was just one under that section.
The AR.
And it is the for courses of study.
Are we pulling both of those or just pulling the AR?
It is only the AR, I believe, that is up there. And
Okay.
so we're gonna be pulling the AR tonight. There ended up being some items that were not supposed to be in the final version, that the editing did not get saved.
Okay.
And so we'll be bringing that back. And then under the 3,000, so item 10 is the BP 3530 for risk management insurance. And also in that section, there were some elements of a revision that ended up getting saved that were not part of that particular item. So we're gonna pull both of these, we'll bring them back at the next meeting. But other than that, no other consent items to be pulled.
Okay. And again, just as everybody, I'm sure, if you look through these and read through the recommendations for these, those, as I think you've highlighted here, the changes, the reason why we're reapproving them is these are just minor technical updates to these. There are not substantive content-based updates, and as you mentioned, the issue of like saving the correct version or copy editing or, technical issues with the final version, that's basically what we're looking at most of these.
And as you can see, we did a lot. We were very busy this summer.
You
going
were
through it.
taking the summer to go through everything and make sure everything's updated, which is much appreciated because I do remember a point in time when we had many of our board policies and administrative regulations that were significantly out of date for quite some time. So we appreciate that effort.
Yes.
Um,
And we'll have more coming.
All right. Anybody, any other items? Otherwise, we can entertain a motion to approve the consent actions.
There's still no public.
Oh, yes, still no public comments, correct.
I move consent.
Move consent. Second,
Forget it.
all right. Motion and a second. Rachel?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Shelley, aye. Consent so moved. And we are on to, yes, I think I'm gonna do that as well since it's a recording, glass of water. We are on to the board business. We have committee updates and reports from trustees, and as we remember, we have combined the committee updates and reports with also just announcements or everything. So any kind of board related, if it's a committee, if it's an event you went to, if it's a conference you attended, any of that kind of stuff is all now wrapped into this one section as opposed to separating them out. If there's anybody.
Enjoying summer.
I know, it's during the summer, so we haven't had really anything that's happened that much. The only thing I have to report is that I did attend the MCOE board meeting yesterday with Marcy and Chris. And the appreciated Superintendent Carroll coming to give us, to talk to us a little bit about his perspective on that. The focus of that meeting was predominantly on their facility issues. And as was mentioned, the enthusiasm is a bit more tempered, shall we say, given the price tag. So it's the information that was presented isn't anything we haven't already known for quite some time, given our evaluation of the property. They're definitely going into a lot more detail on it. They also talked about the timeline, and Marcy, I was gonna actually ask if we could request, I don't believe they have put up on their board docs a copy of the presentation materials. So I wanted to see if we could get a copy of that and give it to all the rest of our trustees, given our involvement in this topic. I think that would be really helpful. For you to be able to distribute. So if we could just ask John for a copy of that, and then you could send it out to everybody, that would be really helpful. So they basically went over the facility all of the facility issues. They haven't done did not provide all the final reports to their board just yet. That's gonna happen at the August 29th meeting.
Yes, on the special meeting.
On their special meeting on the 29th, they will have the comprehensive packet of all of their due diligence. They went over the costs for their options, which are ranging, they had 3 different cost options ranging from low end of 4 million something up to 40. Help me out here, Marcy or Chris, if I'm.
I think it was 14
14 to
to
40.
30 to 40.
40, right?
Yes.
Minimum being 14.
So they are, in addition to doing an assessment of whether or not they want to purchase the property, they're also folding in considerations regarding if they did purchase the property, what is their option for the facility improvements that are required? So they've done their due diligence and have a list of everything that needs to happen. And so they're considering how they would implement that. And then the other consideration is how they would fund it, given the cost variables. They presented in that meeting funding that is and is not available to them, which is not quite an array of options as I think we might have thought or they might have thought in the beginning as well. So, and the time frame that they put out was the next meeting in August, the special meeting will be the completion of their due diligence. They will then have a Q&A session in September without an expectation of a decision until October. That's what they said at the meeting last night. So that's the update. So that's kind of the update on that meeting. I don't know if Chris or Marcy, if you wanted to add anything about that update or committee or anything?
I think you covered it. I did get there a little bit late. I think it was about 5 minutes late, so I didn't hear the very beginning of the presentation. So yes, but you covered it.
All right, and we will, we didn't have an agenda on this, but when we have more to update, we will definitely let everybody know. So if you don't
We didn't have our own district updates at this time. We have nothing new to share with you at this time. That's why it wasn't on the agenda this evening.
So, when and if we do, we will let you all know. The only other thing I was gonna update on as well was with respect to the lunch item that we have. I'm on the committee, the E2 committee, efficiency and effectiveness, cross-county collaboration stuff, and it seems to me that this lunch thing, it might be something for that committee to take up, whether we can get more attention from somebody if there was a countywide lunch collaborative or something like that, and somebody might be looking at a bigger contract, could we get other people interested? So I will bring that to that committee, which I think the first one is like early September or something. So I'll bring that to that committee. Alrighty. Alright,
Any other trustees?
any other trustees? Probably not. Get ready, put your committee seatbelts on, school year's starting. And now we've got approval of regular meeting minutes for June 14th. Any detailed copy editing issues?
I did not find it.
Always looking over you.
I didn't find anything.
Alright. No public still here to make any public comment on this?
I move we approve the regular board meeting minutes for June 14th, 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rachel?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Shelley, aye.
Aye.
Alright, approval of the minutes, and now we have superintendent and cabinet reports and updates.
Well, unlike a lot of the things that you all do during the summer related to your committees or activities that you might attend and so on, I can't say the same for our cabinet team. So we have quite a few updates, I'm sure, this evening to fill you in on. So we'll start off with Chris Carson, CBO.
So we are coming down to the last leg of the summer, and we are preparing our facilities and making sure that everything is tip-top shape. The staff has done a tremendous job out there doing work on the floors, the restrooms, et cetera. And so hopefully when staff come back, they see that and also the community. And really that's the only thing this evening. I do want to say thank you to the staff for that, because we have been extremely short-staffed, both in the custodial and as well as the maintenance. And it's been a difficult year with all of the rain that happened, because that creates a lot of weeds, that creates a lot of issues with facilities, et cetera, that we're working on. And it's been quite challenging this summer.
Luckily, we've been able to garner substitutes when we've had staff out for vacations or surgeries, medical leaves of absence, those kinds of things. So that was fantastic to help the team. Small but mighty.
Small but mighty.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Director of Student Services, Eric Sable.
Yeah, it feels like a million years ago. However, it wasn't. It was just over a month ago. Actually, it was just under a month ago that our extended school year, our special ed program for the summer concluded on July 11th, started on June 14th. It was incredibly successful. It was my fourth at ESY now, and they're really joyful. Not that, some days may not be a little more challenging than others, or everybody's going to have their moments, but on the whole, it's just a great feeling. And it's really extraordinary because while we still do have members of our own district team who step up to teach and provide services for ESY, we also reach out to and post publicly, and sometimes need to work with agencies to fill those roles, from teacher to speech pathologist to OT, etc., to paraprofessional aid support. But long and short is it was just really terrific. We serve somewhere between probably 25 and 30 students total, between the children that were in our TK2 SDC, our through fifth grade SDC, our middle school classroom, and then also our early intervention speech kiddos. And we also had staff, our psych, an OT, our speech pathologist, doing assessments over the summer as well. Because that, even though the timeline officially stops, we look at it as an opportunity to just keep the momentum going, because we're hearing from different families and initiating assessments all throughout the year. So anyway, I'm really proud of the team and really grateful for the experience that all of those students were able to have. So I just want to thank them. And other than that, yep, we're just trying to get all the pieces in place as always for the launch of 23-24.
Busy. All right. Julie Wilcott, Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and some HR in there.
Yeah, so also getting ready for the return of our staff, and particularly our certificated staff, along with getting their facilities ready, making sure they have all the materials they're going to need, and then we also get to put together their professional development. One of our 3 professional development days that we host each year is in August. And this year at the elementary level, we're going to be welcoming Jessica Hammond, who comes to us from Glean Education. And she's a dyslexia expert and also an expert in early literacy. And so she's going to be working with our district throughout the year on really just refining our literacy instruction, making sure that we are aligning our practices with those science of reading best practices, and also making sure that our systems are also all in alignment. So our assessments and the way that we use data to drive instruction, and also use data to make sure that students are getting what they need. So we're really excited about that day, and also our elementary principals have been working together to kind of help create a bridge from what Jessica is going to be presenting to what teachers are accustomed to doing within their classrooms. We'll be talking about our current reading program and talking about how it has shifted and how it continues to need to shift. And then at the middle school, Mary Claire and John, our co-principals, are going to be working with their staff on identifying priority standards, which is pretty much what it sounds like. But for each content area, it's really a recognition that there are so many standards, and you really can't cover everything, and not everything deserves equal time. And so by working towards understanding and mapping out what's most important, and then making sure that you understand where your kids are with each of those priority standards, you're really going to help move all students forward. So they're really excited about that. And then along with that, we have been working for, I want to say, a couple of years now on refining our MTSS. It's a part of our LCAP goals, both Goal 1 and Goal 2. Goal 1 focuses on academics, and Goal 2 focuses more on social, emotional, and wellness supports. And MTSS is a multi-tiered system of supports. And there are many, many systems that need to come into alignment. And we've been in a place in our district where all of our sites have systems in place, but each site has kind of a different variation. And we have been finding that it's really important to bring us in alignment across the district. So we've created collectively a playbook, and we've all agreed on the forms and the protocols that we're going to be using, and all staff will have access. And this was really a team effort. Eric played a big role in this as Director of Student Services, and then our principals, of course, and our MTSS instructional partners, coaches, worked on this a lot, as well as our intervention specialists at each of the sites. So all the players, the people that are really going to be implementing all of the MTSS, really know it and understand it, and we're just so excited for the implementation this year. And then in the world of hiring, hiring has truly become a year-round endeavor. I think it used to be something that mostly happened in the spring. But we've been working on staffing for this year since before the spring started, and certainly worked on it all the way through the summer, and are still working. And it's challenging. Some positions are more challenging than others to fill, special ed being one of those. And Eric has been turning every stone and log and looking and reaching out to agencies, and has done tremendous work trying to get us staffed there. And we're doing what we can. We've reached out to all of the Bay Area university programs, but at this point we do have some openings. We have a K teacher at Brookside, a third grade teacher at Manor opening, and then resource at Brookside, and a 6-8 SDC teacher. And a couple of these positions only became vacant in the last week. And so we're kind of doing double duty here, and it's kind of hard to fill a position this late in the game. But we are confident that we'll be filling all of our positions. We also have a lot of classified positions that are open, and we're going to continue working on how we recruit for those positions. We're not alone in this dilemma. I did a search on EdJoin just this afternoon, and I just looked at credentialed postings beginning August 1st, and posted right now on EdJoin, just in the last 9 days, there are 7 special education postings, 9 classroom teacher postings, and 4 kind of elective and enrichment postings. And there are many, many, many other postings, but these are just new postings in the last 9 days.
In
So
Marin County alone?
in Marin County alone. So just to give you a sense that it's tricky right now. So really appreciate that this has become a administrative team and more effort in terms of recruiting. Everyone is talking to everyone they know. We have a candidate coming in tomorrow for an elementary position that was recruited by one of our principals, and we will be ready.
And I
We will
saw
be
that
ready.
a principal today emailed out to their school community, that what the openings are at that school. So it is really spreading community-wide. And I was going to cover this under mine, but since Julia's talking about it, let me talk for a minute about Target River, that you all approved the contract with them on June 14th, 2023. And true to their promise to us, they did launch by July 24th. They asked me what date would be the best date to launch the campaign related to the classified openings that we have. As you recall, the work that we're going to be doing with Target River regarding marketing around enrollment, that will be for the 24-25 school year. So there wasn't enough time to really do a campaign to try to enhance our enrollment for this year. But I did get an update, and I have a call with a representative from Target River tomorrow. And so far, since July 24th, they are accessing our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. And so that's where, I will send those links out so that you can all follow Ross Valley School District if you're not already following. We did need to open a new Facebook page just because of not knowing, we didn't have access to some information on that. And it was old, we needed to get it updated. Mm-hmm. So we opened a new one. So we have a total of 143,780 impressions, 227 total clicks, and 42 total paid events. Please don't ask me what those all mean. I will learn that tomorrow in the meeting with them, and I can't wait to better understand what all that means. But the responses from other members of the Target River team were right on. This is great, looking good. So whatever it does, it means that it's really good stuff. And just as an aside, Sean Maher, who is taking vacation this week, visiting his sister in Utah, sent me a picture of a billboard on the side of the road for Target River. So he sent that to me, and he says, as seen in Utah. So interesting that the more we branch out and get to know other entities and groups, the more that we have those connections too. And so I'll be giving an update on that. So, but anyway, Julia, anything else from?
No more.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'd like to start tonight by just acknowledging a person in the room who decided to celebrate her birthday with us at this board meeting. So Teresa Machado, Thank you so very much and happy birthday. When we were talking earlier today, she mentioned that it's an even number. I said, wait, does that mean it's a big one, a decade? And she says, no, but the numbers add up to my favorite number. So I won't say the numbers, but they do add up to the favorite number. And then Chris Carson will have a birthday towards the end of the month, but before our next meeting. So on August 21st is his birthday, and his favorite number is the same one. So how do you know? People born in August must have all the same favorite number. So anyway, happy birthday.
Question what a fail is.
Yeah, exactly. So try to figure out that they have a favorite number, and the age of Teresa today adds up to that favorite number. Go figure. Is that enough
You say you're not a
information?
math person, look at you.
Look at that. That see, there's a
But
word
I have
problem right
a
there.
question though, Julia. Is there a way to figure it out based on the limited information you have where there are no numbers at all? Is there a way?
Well, guessing,
Yes.
which
okay.
is
A
a
way.
problem-solving strategy.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. All right, thank you. All right, and I do want to echo, so as you heard tonight with all of the updates around how busy our district office administrators, our staff have been, I'd also like to give a big shout out to Teresa, because as we shifted this summer from Schoolment for our new student registration and our back to school, Teresa on non-contract time, so thank you so much for being willing to work on a timesheet to help us with this, has completely transitioned our online student registration from Schoolment to Aries, which is our current student information system. Our families at Whitehill are already familiar with Aries because that's how they access their child's report cards and grades. So they have access to that portal. So thank you so very much. And she's in the throes of now building the back to school aspect, or what do you call it? Module, whatever. Yeah, all right. So thank you for that. And then Sean has been extremely helpful too, because as he has been as part of the work we're doing this summer to ensure that we're ready to rock and roll with Share 911, the platform for our enhancement of our security. He has been busy out at sites with Jorge, who's another person here tonight, making sure that we are adding to our Wi-Fi capacity out on the fields at all of our schools. So it truly is an effort of every employee in the school district. Some are 10-month employees, only work the school year. Others are 12-monthers, and our administrators are 12-monthers. And so most of our district office employees are 12-month employees, most, except for Teresa's position and Meredith's position, and Lynn Marion, who is our DOAA. But they're busy. There's never a dull moment with what they're doing. If you're not beginning a new school year, you're ending a school year, you're in the middle of a school year. And then also to some other folks, I want to just do a big shout out to Lindsay Crawford, who is one of our in our fiscal services department. And one of the specific tasks that she has, in addition to payables, is to do payroll. And when we settled with our employees, our employee groups, as well as our unrepresented, she needed to not only, first you have to get the first paycheck, has to be at the new rate, and then she can start to work on retros. We had thought, so the first group that we settled with were our certificated teachers, faculty, and we settled with them on May 9th. And originally, even though Lindsay at that time knew that she would have a planned vacation already, as well as her husband, who happens to work on our M&O department, needed to have quite extensive and major ankle surgery. So she already knew that would put her out of the district for a period of time. And so we anticipated that we'd be able to provide the retros to our certificated on a mid-month payroll in July. When Lindsay returned from the vacation and started pulling all of the stipend forms, the timesheets that are required to apply the retro for any of the increases that we did, and she shared that with the paperwork. So for our classified employees alone, it was about 1.5 inch stack of papers that she had to go through. For our certificated, 4 inches. So imagine it's a pile this deep to go through to calculate and be able to establish the retros. She was only here a week prior to Casey going out for surgery. So as soon as she returned from break, she realized, I won't be able to get this done. Let me know. And I sent a communication out to the employees. Our classified employees, we don't typically share any type of medical related or why a person might be out, but Lindsay did feel very badly that an initial promise that she wasn't able to meet that. And Lindsay takes her job very seriously. She cares a lot about our district and our employees. So it was hard for her to have to report that to me. But she did say, it's okay if you let people know why. That might help them to understand as to what the delay is. And so I sent a message out and explained to all of our certificated employees why this one would be now on the August mid-month, which actually will reach them on August 23rd. So I communicated that with everybody and got some very much appreciations, responses, thanking me for that level of communication. And then when we settled with our bless you, our classified employees and our unrepresented employees, that was much later. And so that was already set. Everybody in those categories already knew when the retros would be coming. But it's a huge monumental task. And then it's not just about, so there's always checks and balances, especially when it comes to dollars coming in, even more so when dollars are leaving. So when Lindsay runs that report, it goes to MCOE. And then there are very clear and specific rules and expectations that the retirement systems have related to any of these payments out to employees because it matters for retirement. So MCOE pulled back or spit back, there were 51 exceptions on these. So between MCOE and Lindsay going back and clarifying why, because it's the retirement systems that push back. So luckily, Lindsay did some work over last weekend and was able to have everything to MCOE this Monday, which gives MCOE a complete full week to review and to ensure that any questions are answered. So, but it's a huge task, huge. So what we're just gonna be taking a lesson out of this, and in the future, we will just be sure that we add additional time for anything unforeseen that like this that may come up, because Lindsay did believe that she'd be able to do it. So that was huge. And also, then I want to also acknowledge that it's very exciting for a new school year. Our priorities in the school district are not changing. They haven't changed. They've been the same for the past 4 years. But I'm really excited, and as Julia talked about with the MTSS and the work that's been done, I no longer have to say refined our MTSS system. It has been refined. And so now we will provide a cohesive and articulated academic and behavioral program and multi-tiered system of support for students. So it's all of the work that we've been doing for the past 4 years around our racial equity work and our equity in general to ensure that all children get what they need and when they're in our schools, and our MTSS, enhancing our safety and emergency preparedness protocols, and then also be fiscally prudent at the same time that we prioritize our students and employees. It's not now the planning stages. We are in this. And so the interconnectedness between all of these priorities, and now I feel like we'll be able to do as Deborah McKnight, our equity coach, has been talking to us about, is accelerating our work. And I feel that this is the year where we will see all of our work that we've been building the foundations to over the past 4 years, being able to accelerate that and get that implemented. And so really thrilled about the upcoming year ahead. We do have a couple of other things. We had an administrative retreat. So that was all of our administrative team last Thursday and Friday. And so we've separated out kind of what we do on each of the days. So one is kind of our nuts and bolts type of a thing. And then through Julia and Eric's work of helping us to really take a look at our working together as a team, and how, as one of our principals commented on Friday, was that we are not a district office and schools. We are a complete team to ensure that, so there is no separation. The principals, the district office, we are one and the same to help ensure that all of our priorities get met and that our students get the best that they can, providing all the support that we need with our employees. So those were 2 really fulfilling and rich days. And let me see if I left anything. Oh, on our upcoming, I've been working on and planning is related to the emergency preparedness. And so that is with our classified professional development day, which will be on August 21st, Monday, August 21st. And so we will be having Bill Welch, who's been helping out last school year at each of our school sites to help to review our protocols related to drills. Is we will be having CPR and AED training. So as you might remember from a board meeting last year, Chris had talked about all of our school sites have AEDs. The one location where we need to get one is our district office.
Those are the defibrillators.
The
Oh, yeah.
defibrillators, yep. And so we have identified, classified as well as certificated employees to receive the AED trainings. And then the CPR training is good for every 2 years. So we do have some new employees who were not here in last year's training, so they will be trained this August 21st. And then we also then in the afternoon, and we're going to provide lunch to all those who will attend in the morning and or the afternoon. And in the afternoon, Bill is going to do intruder and incident command center training. And so that is with all of our classified employees in every single position and every single site in our district. And then from a little later after that, then Eric Endress, who's with Share 911. And that was a platform that you approved back at the end of June also to help enhance our security and communication system. He is going to provide a training for all of our classified employees. Given the work that Julia talked about with the certificated, on our PD day there, we are not going to be rolling out Share 911 until a staff meeting, which is all Zoom training. So Eric will do it via Zoom. We're going to do our certificated employees on September 20th or 21st, whatever day it is.
Is there any opportunity for parent leaders in the parent organizations to join in any of the safety training? If they pay, I mean, I'm sure there's a cost to it or anything.
There's a limit to the number that Bill can have at any particular time, or he'd have to run sessions. So our contract with him,
is
is that,
specific to how many people. Okay.
Yeah, and so what we looked at in terms of our number of employees is we've taken a look at, do we have employees who work outside, PE teachers as an example. They need CPR and AED training.
Got it.
And then folks in the office who need to have it.
Okay.
So we've identified, we've hit our max. And even if we had been able to fill all the positions that Julia talked about on our classified side with campus supervisors, he would have been able to allow for those openings to be able to be filled. Yeah. So unfortunately not at this time, to be able to do that. And I think with that, good to go. Ready to start school year.
All right. You all for the full update. I'm ready to start. We got facilities ready to start and screenings ready to start and staff all ready to go and
Ready to go. Bring the kids on.
and ready for the kids to come on in. So looking forward to that start of that new year. Definitely. All right. Well, headed toward the final stretch here with future board topics and direction, meeting debrief, or anything that we need to do with that for future meetings. Yep.
I have two. One is I think that I've been following a lot over the last 6 months in regard to the Marine Wildfire Prevention Authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have probably very known and hardened schools and a lot of stuff that, is probably most certainly in place when it comes to fire safety. I think Marin is practicing a lot of management, but I really don't think Marin is ready for a big fire. And I don't believe that anybody really understands how that would impact us. So I'd like us as a board to just kind of go the distance to bring this topic up, whether we could bring in professionals to know not just that we meet the standards and the threshold of what the base standards are in building materials and that kind of stuff, but what else can we do? I'd like to be on the fore end of the Boy Scout background that I have, be prepared. And that also means, like, what else can we do? How can we really bring this topic front and center so that we don't just meet the threshold, but we meet a bigger objective? And as I study what the Marin County Wildfire Prevention Authority has been doing, shaded fuel breaks, all this type of stuff, I just see our school sites differently now, and I'd like to have professionals maybe come in and talk about it with our board and see what else we can do. Maybe take a look at what we have, assess what we're really dealing with in a major catastrophe, not just the minor stuff, but the major stuff.
Okay.
So it kind of dovetails onto what Marcy was saying about those trainings. Like those trainings are really good, but I just want to be a little bit more prepared.
Okay.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about as a topic is I'd like to talk about district outreach. I really think that I brought this up several times before, and I know we've had heavy agendas. But right now, there is a real opportunity and importance for us to make sure we are doing everything we can to do the outreach. And when Rachel and I participated in the Fairfax Festival Parade, handing out pencils and stickers, right? It's just impactful and it's needed. And I know that that's not necessarily our job as trustees to do that type of work, but I enjoyed it. But I also think that it's something that our district really needs to take a really good look on, and besides just hanging banners.
Would an update from the Tiger River work? I mean, when they're Target River,
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing anything right now.
but they're gonna
With-
get ready for.
In November.
Yeah,
is
so
when
that's real. I was really excited about that one, but I'm talking even about local outreach. Like, what can we do? You know, we do some things like hang our banners above Sir Francis Drake to put our name out there. But there's also a lot of events that we know. I just like to brainstorm with the board and for future topics to see what else we can do.
Okay.
I'd consider paying kindergarten teachers to do outreach. Like actually paying them to go doing the outreach to schools. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if they're interested in that.
So just put a topic
I
on,
want a
we can
topic up to
brainstorm
discuss
like local,
outreach
other
for our
local
district.
events
Yep.
or those.
For us to
Okay.
sit back and brainstorm
Okay.
some ideas
Okay. We
as a
can,
board to bring outreach to the front
Okay.
of the program.
Put that on. Anyone else? All right. Well then, when is I know this is the beginning of the year. Do you want to remind us of kind of our cadence for the next couple of meetings so we all have that in the back of our mind as we?
So we have one on August 30th, September 13th, September 27th.
So August 30th, September 13th.
September 27, October 11,
Okay.
October 25.
Okay.
And the next one's coming up. And then agenda planning is the Tuesdays
Right.
before the meeting. Yeah.
So again, please do reach out to Marcy or myself if anything else comes up that you would like us to consider for an agenda the Tuesday before any of those dates. And we can talk about that. And with that, it is 8:32. Oh, missed the 8:30 mark, but 8:32, and I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting.